Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's just check that I am coming out live. Let's just have a look before we start. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, welcome everybody to day 3 of the Relabelling Reactivity Deep Dive 2024. It's been a really interesting week with lots of discussions and some great comments and feedback from people picking up the relevant lives that I did on Monday, where I talked about the 5 causes of reactivity. Last night, we had that great conversation with Kat Farrance of Movement for Modern Life, one of the team members on the Relabelling Reactivity team, who offers support to the Hwin about how to deal with reactivity and how it affects them. She talked yesterday about being responsible, not responsible, responsible, being able to respond appropriately in situations which cause you to feel anxious and could possibly be triggering your dog's reactivity, or certainly be a part of it. Today, I'm speaking with my really good friend, Lou Holmes, who also is part of the Relabelling Reactivity team, and she has contributed a massive amount of section on nosework. And the reason why I feel that, and we're going to go into greater detail on that, why nosework is so beneficial is because it not only provides a really healthy physical outlet for your dog, but it also provides a really great mental outlet for your dogs. On Monday, I talked about the 5 causes of reactivity, or the things that I see that are really common at the core root of reactivity issues. And one of those is the genetic implications, or the genetic entity of reactivity. As I discussed on Monday, so many dogs were actually bred, or primarily dogs were bred to fulfill or assist us in our daily lives, back when we needed dogs to capture our food and gather things and protect our property. Now, with modern society, we have other means of doing that. But those dogs still have those genetic needs. It's hardwired into their DNA. And as a result, often reactivity is a reflection or an illustration of those genetic needs not necessarily being occupied, channeled, or utilized. And one of the best things, in my opinion, that you can do for the vast majority of dogs is to do some sort of mental stimulation. And certainly nose work or scent work or anything along those lines is going to be so healthy for them. So my good friend Lou, who I'll let her give you a bit of background, is the contributor for that section of the Relabelling Reactivity course, because of her vast years of experience in that particular realm. So welcome. Thanks, Lou, for doing this, as always.
Hello.
So just go into a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your background in nosework then.
Hi everybody. So it's great to be here. I'm Lou, as Kamal says. I've contributed to his Relabelling Reactivity for different scent work things for you to do with your dogs. So my experience with scent work comes from that I've got 24, nearly 25 years of experience training dogs for search and rescue work. So I've got my 6th now operational search and rescue dog, at 5th and 6th, because I've got 2 qualified in different disciplines at the moment. So I've got a big experience from the search and rescue side of things, using dogs to help us locate missing people. I was also involved in the trials, the initial trials, when I used to work training hearing dogs for deaf people. And there was a group of us that did the initial trials for the dogs being trained to detect cancer. Which is all nosework stuff. They do that through sniffing urine samples and things. So myself and my dog were involved in the initial trials for those. I teach scent work for in classes and individually, just nosework games, scent work UK type stuff. That's a massive growing sport and activity now, certainly here in the UK and lots of other places as well. That's really popular for many reasons, for all types of dogs. I've got experience with a dog that had reactivity issues caused through a specific incident that happened when he was very, very young, which you may have seen Kamal talking about previously on previous blogs and videos and things, and how giving him something to do helped get him through that and turned him around, really. I think
so just on that point, so I have spoken on that, and obviously if you go back on my page and look at the Relabelling Reactivity Symposium from I think it was last year, you can find the full sort of story of Chip, and I covered it as in blogs, etc. So, but just to sort of elaborate on that, so Chip, who's now passed, was Lou's Australian Shepherd cross Border Collie, and he was a dog that genetically had an apprehensive temperament. He definitely had confidence issues as a dog, didn't he, Lou? And unfortunately, to add insult to injury, he actually got quite severely attacked by another dog whilst out on a walk, resulting in, how many stitches was it?
Nearly 100.
Yeah, it was a massive amount of damage. Essentially, ripped, the dog, quite damaged the dog quite severely. And as a result, you had a dog that with a predisposition to being anxious from two breeds of dogs that have behavior that could easily evolve into reactivity, prey-driven dogs, herding breeds. And obviously added insult to that was the fact that he was physically damaged and probably mentally traumatized, as probably Lou was at the time, watching her puppy be attacked. Just tell us about what happened after that, just to get people up that are watching up to speed, Lou.
Yep. So he was only 10 weeks old when it happened. Prior to that, he lived in a multiple dog household. I had other dogs at the time. He was fine with my dogs. He'd been fine with friends' dogs that he'd met by that point. He was a little bit wary of people. As a puppy, from when we brought him home, when I saw him in the litter, he was absolutely fine. There was lots of people there that day that he didn't know, no problems or anything. But he definitely lost an awful lot of confidence coming away from the litter, and was a very different dog for those first sort of couple of weeks, even with us. And then once he got to know us, obviously he was absolutely fine with us, but strangers were a little bit of a problem for him. But all being fine, all being worked on as general sort of puppy stuff. Then obviously the incident happened, and after that he always would, if he saw a dog coming, he would go in first. So he would run, even as a tiny little puppy, like, I'm going to get you before you get me, kind of thing. When he got there, it was a lot of noise and not an awful lot of anything else. Like, generally he sort of crapped his pants a little bit. Once he did get there, he didn't really know what to do. He didn't have any actual follow up to that charging in, but it looked and sounded awful when he was doing it, and I wouldn't like it if people's dogs were doing it to my dog. So obviously we had to do something about it, and help make it a lot better. The intention had always been that he would be a search and rescue dog. I'd got him primarily as a pet, but I do stuff with my dogs, obedience and search and rescue. And for a very, very, very long time, he wouldn't even get out of the car. We'd turn up at training and he just wouldn't get out of the car. If there were other dogs around, he'd bark and lunge at them. If there were people around, he'd just go, I don't want to be near you. I'm just going to sit in here. So we did a long time of just literally not doing anything with him, not forcing him to approach people, not having people approaching him. If I was standing around, he'd stand with me. People would come and go, all that kind of stuff. I built some search foundations using myself and the couple of people that he did have a really good relationship with, that he was quite confident with. And the more and more he did, the more he had that sort of little jacket on, and he had a job, and he could go, right, okay. It was almost like the outside world just was completely shut away, and he was totally focused on what he was doing. We could introduce new people into that, and it was just his game that he was playing, and he didn't see sort of the things in the outside world when he was focused and on his job. And obviously over time, that translated that he was better all around, not just when he was wearing his jacket, but that gave him the confidence to come through that. And in those situations that he was doing these things, and he would encounter other dogs and other people, and have good experiences with those kinds of things. And actually, in the end, he was one of the most sound dogs I've ever had. I would quite often use him as a stooge dog around other dogs, because he was really good for giving confidence to other dogs, and really good. Really came through it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's some turnaround, isn't it, really? And you shared, your observation and your takeaway from that whole experience was most definitely giving him purpose, giving him a vocation, and giving him direction. I think what can often happen when you have a dog that displays reactive behavior, or there is trauma, because that would have been a horrific experience to witness your puppy, not only as an owner and as the dog. The easiest thing is to remain in that headspace, remain in the headspace of, I need to protect my dog from the world, remain in the headspace of, he's the victim, or he's traumatized, as opposed to focusing more on, okay, how can we build his confidence? How can we give this dog purpose? How can we create positive experiences so that he then grows and thrives? Because that's ultimately what we want for all of our dogs. And that's what ultimately my team wants for those of you that have dogs with reactivity challenges. We want you to thrive. We want you to prosper in your lives by giving your dogs purpose and confidence and so forth. So why do you think then that, one, giving a dog a job is so imperative to, let's say, their mental health? What is your take on that then, Lou?
Yeah, definitely. So there's so important for their general well-being. Nosework gives dogs a real mental workout as well as a physical workout. There's all kinds of studies that show that the heart rate of dogs that are doing noseworks is as high, if not higher, than if they were going out for like an hour's run, which is great, because that's physically helping them, and also mentally helping them, in that dogs use their nose all day, every day, quite naturally. Every dog sniffs, every dog will use its nose to a certain degree in some way, and channeling that into something that's appropriate behavior, or using that to help build relationship with the dog. There's all kinds of benefits of dogs doing scent work.
Yeah, absolutely. And why do you specifically? Why do you think then, in your experience and your your own take on things, why do you think it's so imperative that with reactive dogs specifically, that we give them a vocation, that we give them a job to do? So why does that help them then?
Yeah, so that's really important for a dog that's with reactivity issues. Often you've got like vicious circle problems associated with that, in that you can't just take the dog anywhere to go for a run. You've got to be sort of thinking, there's a certain amount of pre-planning of, I'm going to take this route, and you're going to try and limit encounters where the dog's going to be uncomfortable, or where you're going to be uncomfortable, or where the dog's going to react in some way that's going to cause a problem. And so often they can miss out on sort of like, the general things that other dogs get to experience. And so it's, I would say, even more important to give a dog with those problems and issues a job, if you like, because that provides an outlet that will only help you. If the dog is not ever doing anything, then the problems just stack and stack and stack and stack. So giving them that outlet can be really, really, really good. There is a study you can read about online. It's a guy called Durrington and Harrowitz, and they did a study to find that dogs who get to practice regular sniffing are much more optimistic than dogs that don't. So if they're presented with an ambiguous or an unknown scenario, then the dogs that have regularly practiced scent work are much more likely to approach that situation with a positive mindset. So that's really good, because the more optimistic the dog is, that can massively help them to cope in a very human world, and to cope with things, to approach the situations that they find challenging and might lead to their reactivity more optimistically. So so that's really, the science sort of says that does help, and so it definitely can help dogs. And it's not just Chip. I've seen over the years many dogs that have reactivity challenges that have made great leaps by being given this outlet, and sort of progressing on from there, really, not just at those times that we're at scent work class or whatever, but also in the real world as well.
Definitely. And I think if you think of it logically, as you explained earlier, dogs live their life through their nose. They're constantly taking in information. They're constantly assessing. And what you'll find, if a dog that is reactive, it will be more visual. The dog will be seeing and reacting more impulsively from and they'll be triggered, and it'll be a flight response. So the dog isn't necessarily using its senses effectively to look at, actually, I can smell that's a female dog. There's no threat, etc. And if we can encourage them, and more importantly, reinforce them for using their nose, we're going to actually, as Lou said, we're going to cause them to look at the world differently, where as their default response is to look and observe and try and run and respond almost from an instinctive place, we actually are encouraging them to be inquisitive and curious in environment. So if you look at a dog, dog-to-dog interaction, if a dog is frightened, it instantly will back away, it will withdraw, it might snap towards the dog in order to cause the dog to move away. What we want to do is cause the dog to start to sniff and make social greetings towards the other dogs, and interactions, and initiate some contact. And the first thing they're going to do is do some sniffing of each other, smelling all over. If dogs will also do that with people to assess and see. They'll sniff you to take in information. If we can cause our dogs to view the world differently from a place of curiosity and, as Lou mentioned, optimism, we can change the way the dog's behavior will eventually be rehearsed. Further to that, as Lou also mentioned, it's a great thing for your dog physically. I talked about on Monday the contributing factors of reactivity, and one of the things that can be a massive cause of reactivity is lack of physical stimulation. It's really easy to fall into the trap of making your dog's world smaller and smaller when you have a dog that has reactivity challenges, because you get inhibited, you get anxious about walking them. So the easiest thing is to do shorter walks for very short, brief space of time, avoiding them being off lead, and so forth and so forth. And As a result of that, your dog's getting less and less physical stimulation. If you can incorporate some scent work into your daily life, whether it be just initially in your garden or in a safe space, you're going to be alleviating, or you're going to be expelling some of that natural energy and some of that natural the dog's natural needs in a healthy way. That means that when you go out for a walk with them, they're not going to have all that energy pent up and more likely to be on a knife edge waiting to respond inappropriately to another dog. So we can expel physical energy from our dog and drain that off them, and also mental energy. The hope is that when they go out into the real world, they're going to be less inclined to act in a way that's volatile, aggressive, apprehensive, and so forth. So the beauty of scent work is that it doesn't have to be, initially, you don't even have to do it out in the big wide world. You can start that in your home. So Lou, just give us, what could people do at home to start the process of nose work, of beginning puppy nose work with their dog, or green dog nose work with their dogs? What could they do at home?
Yeah, so Kamal's absolutely right. It's one of the massive benefits of nosework stuff is that particularly for scent work games, you don't need an awful lot of room or space. You can do it at home. You can do it in all the different rooms, in the garden, out the front, in the car, wherever your comfortable and safe spaces are. For starting off, puppies, or not just puppies, a dog that's not done any scent work games before, it's literally as simple as that you would throw a toy in amongst some things and get them to go and get the toy, if toys are their thing. If they're not particularly into toys, you can use food. So you're just going to get a little piece of food, throw it in amongst some long grass in the garden, or scatter some cushions on the floor in the house, and throw a piece of food in, and get the dog to go and find that using its nose, and then building from there. You can obviously go through making hides progressively more difficult, higher, lower, under things, and then teaching an indication when the dog has found it. So you would move on from it being a toy or food, and move on to it being a target scent of some sort, and so obviously the dog wouldn't then pick up the thing that it found. You would teach it to indicate to you somehow that, oh, here it is, I found it, and then obviously the dog would get rewarded.
Excellent. So simple. As Lou said, the beauty of scent, you don't need a massive equipment. We all have Amazon deliveries. Every time you get an Amazon delivery, grab some of the cardboard boxes, put them aside. Start with that. Use those in your living room, in your garden, wherever your dog is comfortable. Pop them on the floor. Hide your dog's favorite toy or a treat amongst them and let them rummage around. Then you can add more and more complexity by making the space bigger. You can hide the object in more difficult places, and you can transition from food, if your dog is not food, if your dog is food motivated, to a toy, or you can put the food in a small item. Get a little pouch, or a little tiny little, even a sock, put it in an old sock. Go to the pound store, get some socks, put it in that, tie one up, throw that amongst the items, and get your dog to search and find it. And then you can build on that. And that's essentially how you can simply start some nosework games. There's so many avenues that you could go down to. You could go down. You could do man training, which is brilliant for building your dog's confidence around other people, as long as it's done in a safe way. It's really important to put safety protocols away. If there's any risk factors, think about using a muzzle. The dog's going to be in a line. It's going to be in a harness. Make sure the person that's supporting you and helping you is aware that your dog's lack of confidence around people. And you can put perimeters and guidance in to make sure that you get a positive experience, and so does the dog. You can do tracking. Tracking is a great thing that you can teach your dog if you have access to fields or space. You can start to teach your dog to do tracking. As Lou mentioned, scent work is a brilliant thing. You can do that in your home. So there's so many avenues to take when you have a dog that lacks confidence, to go down the road of using their nose or nose work to build their confidence. So in your experience, Lou, what do you think is the mental benefits of, we've talked about the physical benefits. So why is nose work so mentally stimulating to dogs? Why do you think it really does? I mean, you know, you'll know this firsthand. When your dogs have done a search, they'll probably be exhausted at the end of the day, even if the search was relatively short. Why do you think it's so mentally challenging for them?
Yeah, because I would say ultimately the sense that the dog is using most in its daily life is its olfactory system. And so, like us, I would say if, I mean, clearly I don't, but if I went for a 5 mile run every single day to start with, it would be really, really tiring and I would be like physically exhausted. But over time, I would get fitter and I would get better. And then, you know, there would come a point where actually, when I'd done a 5 mile run, I wasn't really particularly tired at all. And so the only option then that you've got is to then increase that. And so, physically, that's, you know, time wise and things, that's not possible with all dogs. It's particularly challenging with dogs that have reactivity challenges. But if you have to use your brain every day, so if we go somewhere or if you're on a course or something, you're learning something new, you know, you come home at the end of the day and you're like, oh, my brain's actually tired. And that's quite often a much more tired feeling than if you've physically done something. And that's the same with dogs. Their olfactory system is so advanced and so you know, detailed that they're using it every day for things that are sort of equatable to that 5 mile run. So if you challenge that by adding new things and giving them things to think about, puzzling the brain and the olfactory system, then that is going to create that same sort of feeling of the, oh, okay, right, I'm tired now. I had to really think about that. That wasn't just run of the mill, you know, get up, put the kettle on, do those kinds of things. It's not routine stuff. It's been a challenge to a system within a dog that they're using all day and all night generally. So, and the more you promote that, the more you get that sort of that creates that sort of mental tiredness, which actually is really calming for dogs. My dogs are always, I would say, much more tired, but more calm tired when they've been mentally challenged through something like nose work than they are when they've been physically tired. They're very, very fit. I, you know, could take them walk. I mean, they get at least 2-3 hours of exercise a day. They're running about, they're charging about. So they are tired at the end of the day. But if we've done some kind of nose work or scent work, obviously search and rescue tends to be quite big things, that's quite prolonged things, but even just doing sort of 10 minutes searching around the house in the garden, their tiredness is much more calm. And the more, we all know that the more a dog rehearses a behavior, the more natural that becomes to a dog. So if you're promoting that calmness then becomes a predicted behavior. And so, you know, I would say that's like, or people say, oh, you know, my dog won't settle unless it's been out for a couple of hours exercise a day. Well, my dogs are like fit, like athletes, like Olympic level athletes, but they would settle if they hadn't been out at all for a walk, because they've practiced that sort of calm settle in, those calm behaviours that come from doing things like nose work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail. I think it's more the dog satisfied. I think that that's the difference between,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
this is what you see with nose work versus some of the other sports. So, other sports tend to focus on the dog being a heightened state of arousal and more of an adrenaline thing. So that would be, fast and furious things, gets the dogs pumping, which there is a place for that sort of activity. You and I are big on exercise, so our dogs have a blast, they get that out of their system, great. But we also want to think about creating that satisfied feeling from within the dog. So the dog has had a mental stimulation, it's had physical stimulation. And again, as Lou explained, it's similar to us when you've had a day where you've had loads going on in your day. You've had you might not have physically done things, but you've had, a meeting, and then you've had to plan something, and then you've done this, you've done a bit of work. And for example, get up, get my daughter ready for school. Right, I've got to do this live, and then I've got to do some online stuff. Then I've got a lesson, and I've got to walk my dogs, and I've got to do this. One time I've finished my day, I've had so many things in that day, I'm absolutely ready to sort of go to bed. And that's something that we want to try and incorporate into our dog's life, viewing it from their perspective. How can we satisfy them? Again, coming back to what dogs were originally bred to do, the majority or all the breeds that we have, and certainly the breed groups, had a distinct purpose, maybe with the exception of the toy group, but all the other breeds had a purpose for them. Even the breeds that were in the utility category still had an original purpose. It might have been multifaceted, but they had a purpose for which they were originally selected and designed for. And often in modern society, those needs aren't met. And that isn't because we're bad dog owners or guardians. It's that most of us live in modern, urban settings, and we live in normal lives. We're not farmers, we're not gamekeepers, we're not hunters, we don't need a dog to guard our property and so forth. Unfortunately, genetics haven't shifted in the same timeline that society has moved forward. Now we communicate via our phones, and we can message somebody on the other side of the world, and we can see their face. Dogs, the evolution of dogs and the relationship we have with them hasn't quite caught up with that. And as a result, we have to look at the world that we live in now and the dogs that we have. So dogs that have desire to herd, that behavior, if not satisfied and given an outlet for, i.e. nose work or scent work or man trailing or impulse control games, is going to come out irrespective of your intention. And the thing that we need to be talking about more openly and candidly is that often there are so many dogs in society, which I deal with on a regular basis, that lead very undog-like lives. They live in a house, they're loved, they're cared for, but essentially what happens is they get taken out in the morning, they get fed their 2 meals a day, they power nap all day in the house, and then in the evening when their owners come back, they're expected to be, chilling out with them and sitting on the sofa while the person who has had a full day wants to hang out and watch something on television. Well, for the dog, a dog that's bred to run 8 to 12 hours a day, take a breed like a Cocker Spaniel, they're bred to run relentlessly all day, every day. If we take a combination of that and say, for example, a poodle and get a breed like the Cockapoo, you often find dogs with breeds like that have behavioral problems. It's tied to their lack of mental stimulation. They just haven't had an interesting day that will appeal to or appease their genetic needs. So we've always got to be looking at the world from the lens of the dog. Often you'll find those dogs that would probably have been brilliant working dogs or assistants in our daily life are the ones that are most likely to develop or illustrate or demonstrate reactive behavior. In fact, I would confidently say all my dogs that I own now would probably show really, really strong reactive behavior if I didn't meet their needs, give them sufficient exercise, mentally stimulate them, and also educate them about what is and isn't appropriate in given situations. I want my dogs to be able to walk down the high street and not chase cars. I want them to be able to be social with people that they don't know or dogs approaching them. But that's all down to me putting in the work to explain to them what I want of them. part of that process is not only education, but it's also looking at the world from the dog's lens and making sure that I'm providing an outlet for who they are at their their very base needs. So I'm going to just read through some of the points because there's been people chatting away on the YouTube page. So I'm going to have a look at read some of these. So this is Hwin from the Relabelling Reactivity course. Great to have you here. Have done scent detection and a bit of training with Hwin. He really enjoys both, hoping to find opportunities to do more with him. Fantastic. In fact, you don't have to go to a specific source. You can start that at home. You know, some of the games that Lou's got out, that she's detailed on the course, you don't need to go anywhere. You can do it in environments that you have access to. So definitely strongly advocate people to do nose work with their dogs. She also gets a lot of general sniffing on walks. Yeah, excellent. I like to have diversity with my dog's exercise. Sometimes it'll be what I call a sniffy walk, where we'll go to a wooded area and that will naturally encourage them to go and investigate where rabbits have been and pheasants have been and so forth, and deer and sheep, etc., or horses as it is at the moment. I'll actively walk in those locations. So that
definitely.
And then I'll pick locations that are a little bit more open space, so they can have what I call a real blowout, so they can run around headlessly and they can just get that energy out of their system. And it's really important to provide diversity in exercise. If you do too much of one thing, so if I just did the running around headlessly, I'm going to create adrenaline junkies that are going to be, that will affect their nervous system, and I'm going to have all sorts of fallout from that. If I just did the sniffy walks and I never provided for them to have that real good run and blast, again, I'm going to get problems. So it's always about diversity in exercise. Even, just think about being creative with it. Think about where you can walk your dogs. Think about taking them to industrial estates where there's different surfaces, and if you're concerned about dogs, think about different environments, things underfoot. Let them investigate the environments. Think about if you're in a more city environment, think about taking them to places, different adventures every day, so that they learn to interact with their environment in a healthy manner. Okay, let's look. So Tammy said, I've done search games around the house and searching for treats and trail across the field, but looking to do a class in the future to get us going. Excellent. So obviously, as part of the Relabelling Reactivity course, Lou has provided step-by-step details on teaching tracking, man trailing, and scent work or nose work as part of the course. It's all a part of the online course. And she also has done further talks and live demonstrations and sessions in the VIP group as part of being part of the Relabelling Reactivity community. One of the things that we've changed in the Relabelling Reactivity course is that now when you subscribe to the online course, you automatically get VIP access. Previously, that was an additional entity that you had to subscribe to. In reflection, I wanted to help more people, and now you get that standard when you sign up. So anybody that signs up to Relabelling Reactivity will automatically become part of the Relabelling Reactivity online community in the VIP group, and that's where you have access to myself, the team, where you can be privy to additional lives similar to this, talking about reactivity and the core causes and solutions to those behavioral challenges. So let's have a look. Sue said, I've done it with 2 of mine. Absolutely love nose work. Let's have a look. Jane said, I've hidden toys and treats in the garden for her to search. And that's amazing. Grow that, like make it more challenging, add some cardboard boxes, hide it up on things. So really encourage the dog to use their nose and let them problem solve, because not only will it be great for their mental health, their physical health, but it's also empowering for the dog. I mean, there's nothing more, if you've done nose work with a dog, seeing a dog problem solve, and like if you're even like things like scent in obedience, when you see them go over the correct scent and then whip back and they know it's the correct one and do it confidently, or if they're on a track and you can see them processing information and they suddenly go bang, I've got it, and take off really strongly in a certain direction. It's such an exhilarating feeling, not only as a handler, but you can see the dog almost rise. Would you not agree, Lou, when you see that real
definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's really confidence giving for dogs.
Yeah,
using their nose and getting it right. It's it's really empowering for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rachel said, I've not done formal Setwork with either of mine. Mac is a different dog when he's doing his job, which happens to be agility. I played hide and seek with Peg, helps her recall. I'd love to add this. Absolutely. I definitely say, even if you, you know, if you don't feel that you need to join the online community, definitely do some sort of searching games. Throw a toy into long grass, hide it in your house, etc. Because there is such a great thing to do with your dog to, as I said, appease their natural instinct and provide them with mental and physical stimulation. Let's have a look. What else? Excellent, Jane. Lots of enrichment in the house, searching through boxes, old blankets. Yeah, brilliant. You know, you think what they do with animals kept in captivity, they provide them with enrichment because they know that they can't necessarily satisfy their core needs. You know, they can't allow the lions and the tigers and the large big cats or predators to go hunting. It's not practical. But what they have to do is they have to provide them with enrichment that satisfies some of those needs, because that's not only going to help them be happier, but be more content and ensure that they are having their needs met. And the same should be looked at when we're dealing with dogs, certainly. And that definitely will help any behavioral problem. Let's have a look. A neighbor of mine has an oodle that's mostly spaniel who is very high energy and a bit much for her. I've recommended she try some Setwork. Absolutely. It would be an absolute game changer. I mean, I don't know about you, Lou, but the amount of oodles that I see, that when they start to do some sort of nose work, it's like they get a different dog. It literally is like,
definitely.
It's like they're happier, they're more relaxed. It's absolutely fantastic, So we've got here, started with Dasher, scented toys as your marker course. Excellent. That's Yvonne with Dash. Fantastic. Definitely start as soon as you get your dogs, just to sow those seeds, really. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one. So I do a lot of hiding food and recycling materials and hiding around the house and scattering food in the garden. Also done organized training sessions, which she loves. She's a lot calmer when I do. Absolutely. I think there's so many people that will echo that same thing, that when they've done some sort of nose work or scent work, and the ironic thing, it doesn't have to be an extended period of time. It can take 15 minutes, 10 minutes even, for once you've hidden it, got your dog to find it. That in itself can take a relatively short period of time, but the impact on the dog can be, as Lou explained, even more impactful than taking them for a 2-hour run. And obviously that bit needs to be met as well. Your dog needs to have an outlet and needs to have exercise. But if you're pressured for time, or if you're finding that your life has been restricted because of your dog's behavior, definitely start incorporating some nose work into your artillery of solutions. You mentioned tracking earlier, but I'm not really sure what that is, or how would you encourage it? So tracking is where the dog is following a laid path or a laid track. Normally in competition, it's by another person. So some of my dogs do a sport called working trials, where one of the particular exercise or tests is the dog does tracking. So a second person, the track layer, will lay a track which can be, I don't know, half a mile long, and it will be various patterns. So, right angles, curves, sometimes varying paths. And the goal is to have your dog follow that path, which has been pre-laid, which at the top elite level is about 3 hours old, looking for items that have been placed. And those items may be, for example, a matchstick. It might be a little piece of material. It might be a shotgun cartridge. It might be a cork off a wine bottle. And the goal is to obviously get the dog to find those items and retrieve them. And then you're then marked on the dog's ability to follow that trail. Obviously, that's quite an involved process, and that's specifically for competition. However, you can start doing tracking with your dog in any grass space that you have by simply scuffing your feet along the ground, placing some treats initially if that helps your dog to follow the trail, and put a little pile or a toy at the end, and then gradually fade those treats out till you're just scuffing along. So, so you're roughing the ground up in a straight line, placing your item up, tie your dog previously away or leave the dog somewhere, bring it back, and then when the dog shows any interest in that particular path, follow them and then have a game with them, and then you can build it up. There's obviously lots more steps, which is covered in greater detail in the Relabelling Reactivity course, which Lewis has contributed to. But just, you can go online and have a look at tracking and start to get your head around it if it's something that you're interested in, or more, which would be more beneficial, join the community and you're going to get that as part of the course. Okay, let's have a look. Yes to nosework. Let's have a look. How do we... Okay. How do you transfer from unwanted scent work, hunting for deer, and rehearsing bad behavior to good scent work? Oh, that's a great question.
Excellent question. Brilliant. Yeah. So, sorry. Go on. So I get asked this quite a lot. I would say that it's important that the dog does both. I'm a big advocate for letting them use their noses. As Kamal said earlier, that they're hunting, they're looking for scents that you maybe done, you sort of said, unwanted scent, but actually giving that dog that outlet to be able to do that is a good thing. Naturally, dogs would be doing that. So obviously you don't want them to jog off and find the deer or the thing, but if you've got good recall and things, all those foundations in place, letting them use their nose in that way is a really good thing. But I would absolutely, with a dog that's particularly scent driven, so if they've got a very high sort of scent drive, I would put that on a cue, and I actually would use that to my advantage, of that I would have the dog do something, engage with me, and then its reward would be that it would be allowed to go and do the thing that it wants to do, which might be scurrying around in the bushes looking for the scents. So you can absolutely put those kind of behaviors on cue, and I would say that if your dog has strong unwanted scent work, it's going to be very easy to teach it to do wanted scent work, the kind of scent work that you sort of look at as good, because the dog's already showing you that it needs that outlet, it's got a natural predisposition to do that. So I would use the unwanted stuff to my advantage, and alongside that, run that you're doing scent work that you would prefer, that, or they found this smell rather than that they were looking for the scent of an animal, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the other thing is to also look at what is your dog going to find when it's doing the good scent work. So the big thing where you can have a dog do scent work with, let's say, purpose, is making sure that the thing that they're looking for is something they really want, a toy or food, because that in itself can counteract the desire to chase something that's, say, inappropriate. For example, as Lou mentioned, big thing, as I discussed on Monday, is those 3 things that you want to teach, and if you get those 1,000%, you're going to be able to change your dog's life. And that is a really solid sit, a really solid down, and a brilliant recall. So if my dogs, for example, where I walk is up the Sussex Downs, there is currently Exmoor ponies where I walk my dogs, and there is now sheep up in the top field. So if I see my dog starting to scent, either the game is to come back to me for the opportunity to either go off or get reinforcement from me, whether it be food or toys or another game, or with some of them it might be the opportunity to run. My cue is zoom, so I can use what the dog wants to get what I want. But again, work on it in a systematic, layered fashion. Work on first building up your dog's understanding of a recall first, then build value for the dog wanting to find something that they really desire, and then gradually take them to environments where there's more challenges. Hopefully that's giving you some ideas there, Rachel. Really good question, though. So Tammy just said, another thing we do is loves to throw a ball into Heather on the moors. It slows the perfector right down. Its tail wags so hard when he searches. And I love watching dogs search, and that's brilliant. That's basically scent work and nose work, isn't it? And then you can just expand it, make it more challenging. Throw the ball out, but leave it for 10 minutes, and then send him in. Build it up to half an hour. Put it in strange locations, hide it under something. Make it more and more challenging, so the dog's got to really work and find it. So Susie asked, I do searches with my cats as well. Very, very cool. Very cool.
Cool.
Excellent. So I don't know if there's any more questions for Lou before we draw things to a close, but just going through the benefits of nosework, scent work, or any form of interaction using a dog's nose, even if it's just enrichment feeding in the garden, it's going to help their behavior. It's going to make them happier. It's going to make them more joyful. It's going to make them more optimistic. It's going to make a better dog, a more satisfied dog, which is ultimately what we all want to do. We all want to improve the relationship we have with our dogs. If you have a dog that's reactive, it can be all-consuming. It can make your world smaller. It can mean that you're getting up at ridiculous o'clock to get them out so that you avoid people. It means that you have to tailor your whole day around that dog's behavior. And as a result, it can impact your confidence, your mental health, your anxiety. We talked about that at great length yesterday with Cat France and Movements for Modern Life. We've now added to your skill set and your knowledge and information about adding nosework into your dog's life. Lou, vastly experienced, has massive knowledge in that particular area, as she's explained, has provided a massive chunk of fantastic information on teaching nosework with your dog, step-by-step guidance in the course. If you're interested in signing up for a Relabelling Reactivity, you will automatically become part of the VIP group where you get access to myself and my team, Lou, Kat, Angela, who we're speaking to tomorrow, at your to give you support and guidance, and also the fantastic members of the Relabelling Reactivity community, which they're just a fantastic bunch of people that love their dogs and are striving to do the best they can and are doing incredible things. So yeah, I think that's about it from all of us. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, Lou's got a massive amount of experience. How can people reach out to you if they do want to like sort of do any online sessions with you or find out a bit more information, Lou?
Yep. So as you say, obviously, like if they join the community, then they'll get all that and access to the feedback and videos and things. I do online training for nosework, and I can send you. I'll give you the link to my my Facebook page, and then if that's something that they want to do, then they can contact me through that.
Brilliant. All right, thank you all. Thank you all for your great questions and your interaction. It's been brilliant. So tomorrow, talking to Angela Watson about shuddering all over yourself. It's going to be a great talk. I love Angela's take on things when it comes to giving you confidence. I'm just going to double check the time. I have a feeling it's midday. Let me just So Angela and I are at 12 o'clock tomorrow. So 12 midday, lunchtime tomorrow. We're going to be talking about trying not to shudder all over yourself. And we're really looking forward to that. Again, as I said, if you're interested in becoming part of the Relabelling Reactivity community, if you have a dog that currently struggles with reactivity, or you know somebody that will benefit from being part of a community where you'll be supported, you'll learn so much, you'll be able to vent, you'll be able to get great information to change your dog's life forever, for the better, then sign up for Relabelling Reactivity. I'll share the link of how you can do so on the chat. But whatever you're doing today, be safe, enjoy your dogs, and yeah, let us know what you think. Take care all.
Thank you. Bye.